Hello everyone, TOavn here, and first thing first, I wanna apologize because this video is supposed to be posted a while ago, but I've been quite busy with the track. In fact, it's the latest track I've been working on. It's this one right here. You can check it out if you're interested. I'm gonna link it up here or in the description. So yeah, that's why it took a while, so I'm sorry. But today I'm gonna be walking you through the remake I made, the Fullmoon Lullaby by Porter Robinson Wednesday Campanella. But before we get into the video, I've realized that this graph is slightly mad. So I would really appreciate if you guys subscribed and also like while you're at it. That would be really epic. But yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first sound, this sound, it's a patcher, two flex presets, the one being this one and the other one being a bassoon, and both of them are going into a patcher, a mid-side EQ. This first one has no high presence in the mids, and on the side it does, and on the other one, in the bassoon one, the mids is slightly boosted on the high end and the side is being removed. So this is basically this one. This first sound is making room in the mids for this sound, and this sound is making room for the side of this sound. It's kind of like an interesting way to like combine sounds in the stereo field, in my opinion. And on the mixer, it has an EQ, get rid of the lows and the highs, and a convolver. It's being mixed in, and a blur pink preset, convolver preset, yes, that also is being mixed in. Don't mind the cat, by the way. And the other sound is this pad hit. And this is actually a super simple patch. It's a harmor, it's a saw wave being volume enveloped. As you can see here, it's being volume enveloped. It's being plugged and it's being low passed. Not even like an envelope on the low pass. It's just the low pass. In the effect, it's being distorted and compressed. Post processing, there is a Maximus. This thing is like a technique that I started using. Basically like disabling the compression on both bands, being the lows and the highs, and only enabling the mids, because the mids is like you can move it around. As you can see, like the cut here, you can move it around. You can target specific frequencies and you can compress them, which is what I did here. So as you can see, it's only compressing the mids. By the way, I just added two Valhalla Supermassive on top of the patch so that it's really reverbed. That's what this Maximus is doing. It's like attenuating the mids. So it doesn't like do crazy stuff. The mid-side EQ, this is not much of a mixing EQ, it's just like a coloring EQ. Maybe a little bit of mixing because I'm cutting frequencies. And the 3D balance, this is also, yeah, I'm using it for later full automation. The third sound is a piano, and this closed grand piano, you can find it in packs and instruments, keyboard. Here, it's right here. It's being OTT'd, reverbed slightly, and EQ'd. This is a ridiculous looking EQ. Blur pink, I don't know why it's being bypassed. Pretty balanced for, again, volume automation, yes. And this Edison is like just, I basically recorded the piano inside Edison and then Control B, which blurs things like this and the amount at 100%, and made a quick pad out of it and pitched it up as well. And up here we have noises, and this is like something I've noticed like in the track. Porter really likes to like have little tiny things playing in the background, like this noise for example, and it's really, I think it's a really clever way to texturize things, I guess. But this noise is just a white noise with some phaser and lo-fi, which is bit crushing. Without the effect, it sounds like a regular noise. With the effect, more interesting. To make this pattern work, I had to like play a lot with the velocity Because if it was like the same velocity all the time, it would be really obviously bad. This sound, which is like the weird tiny sound that you used. I made it, I kind of replicated it. It's not, I'm pretty sure you used one sample, but since I don't have, well, since I didn't have the sample, because now I do, I kind of like did this to like replicate the sound. This sample, which is a stock sample, and this sound is a 3x oscillator. It's just a sine wave, I believe. Yeah, it's just a sine wave. And I kind of pitched it up, used a slide note. And of course it's being post-processed by an EQ and a distortion. This is the same sample, it's being reversed. This is also being post-processed. It's just a reverb, small reverb. So yeah, that's that sound. And here, this patcher right here, it's just a flex preset. This sound here is just a flex preset. It's a music box preset. I use this a lot. It's a really good preset. And it's being EQ'd, extremely EQ'd, and reverbed. And processed? No, it's not post-processed. It's just the way it is. Of course, I had to like do a lot of velocity shenanigans in here as well. So if you don't know how to do this, like randomize velocity, you can just like Control A to select everything, Alt R to go into the randomizer. Yes, by default this pattern thing is gonna be enabled, and you don't want it to be enabled because you wanna randomize velocity. So here, as you can see, you can like switch in between seeds to make it interesting. You can also like randomize anything really. So yeah, that's how you do that. And you basically do that on like certain notes. Like for example, I'm just gonna select random notes and Alt R, randomize these guys, the specific notes. And I can do that, this one too. And like on the low notes, Alt R. That's basically how I did it. And like I manually shifted every single notes as well. But yeah, then these subtle sounds, like subtle stuff, is the same sound, like the same intro sound, just like really quiet. Okay, so now the build up. Here I used the drum loop that sounds like this, but I chopped it like this and then added a bunch of effect on it. This is like a new technique I found out. You frequency shifted way the hell down twice, because like if it's just once, it has like high frequencies, but like now it sounds more like a percussive weirdness. And the default here is a love filter that is basically like looping this pattern, like goes from the left, I guess, to the right occasionally. The way you do that is basically just make the shape and then just go here and make loop, boom, and activate it, of course. Yeah, that's how you make loops inside love filter. So that's just to have some sort of like panning effect, I guess. And then an EQ at the lows and the highs, and this one is basically just taking care of the really like peaky transient. I slightly panned it to the left because and this one, this is an amen break loop that sounds like this. I mean, it's just a breakbeat drum loop. I pitched it up and I did like some time thing here. I don't really know why I did this, to be honest. This is a wave shaper. It's very saturated, slightly mixed in. And this default right here is also, it's the same one. It's on the pan again. It's doing some pan. It's basically the opposite of this one. This is, I guess it's going from the left to the right. I mean, I think it's going from the right to the left, actually. This one is doing the opposite. Like, get this interesting panning effect. Oh, I just realized that I didn't have the effects on. So, wave shaper, panning, limiter. At this point, I don't even know why this limiter is here. It's not even like interacting with the ceiling of filter. So this is the pattern. this is the cut. This is basically the filter cut. And you can like make weird envelopes in here. In this case, I made this envelope so it's like it's low passing a little bit. It's going like wow, wow. So it's looping this envelope without it. It's very static. With it, it has like a little bit of movement. Maximus to compress things, and auto sidechain. I thought it sounded cool with auto sidechain. I had the filter off and I made the shape on the volume pattern and the NEQ. Finally, this one is a shaker loop. But as you can see, I frequency shifted really down twice again. EQ'd it a little bit. And stereoed it. This is like the build-up, so I kept it slightly lower here on the build-up. And in the drop, it's like full volume. And this one is a sample. It's a stock sample, I think. Yes, it's that one. This sample is being processed a lot. I'm sorry for that. This randomness thing, it's basically just a randomizer, like in Peak Controller. I don't even know what I'm randomizing, so I'm not gonna talk about it for now. But here I frequency shifted down again 3 times. Wow. That's how it sounds like. Pretty balanced. Oh yeah, so I'm randomizing this parameter to like give it some sort of character. The way you randomize in Peak Controller is by just having the LFO on like this, by just increasing the volume, and then you go to the shape and you select random, and you can basically like control the range here, like this, and also control the speed. That's how I made this preset. You go to the thing you want to randomize, right click, link to controller, and you select the Peak Controller that has the random LFO in it, because we changed the LFO, not the peak. And that's how you randomize stuff. Yeah, limiting it because the transient is doing some madness. Stereoed it again, light reverb, Maximus, basically OTT. This one is this envelope right here, this automation right here. Because like on the original track, it's not like constantly hitting. It has some like velocity stuff to it. Instead of like using MIDI, I just used audio. I made it like this, like the velocity, not really the velocity, but let's just pretend it is. This is just a tiny bloopy sample, also a stock sample. Yeah, being frequency shifted down again. The violin, this one down here, is also from, it's also from Pax Instruments and orchestral, and it's right here, string solo. It's being post-processed in the EQ, OTT, and the reverb. I think it's the same piano. This one is piano, named piano. What? Yeah, this one is basically another piano that has different post-processing on it, like phaser, Maximus. It's not, it's bypassed though, so I don't know. Reverb and a compressor to like make it feel really compressed. So the drum here, this one, it's a stock sample. Not really, I don't remember where though, in browser. It's these ones. It's from Legacy, a real drum kit, and yeah. I post-processed them without and with. The effect is lo-fi again, it's a bit crushing, and slight saturation and an EQ. Same for the snare actually, it's like also being a bit crushed and frequency shifted up. Yeah, it's been frequency shifted up, OTT'd. This is like, I tried to be special and widened the mids, like the high mids, not the lows. You can see I splitted the frequency because that's the point of this frequency splitter. Stereo and delay on the highs, high mids. And an EQ. It was missing some highs, I guess. So you might be wondering, where the heck did I get the kick? And I sampled it from the original track because it was really hard to like find similar kicks to that one. It's like almost like a perfect combination of acoustic and electronic. Also has a lot of stereo frequency information, so it was really hard. So I had to sample it because it's really hard to like find it, or to remake it at least. The drums, I used the kick. This was an attempt. It didn't work. This is the one. It's actually 3 kicks. Kind of like mix them together. I wanted this one to be like the main kick. Use this as the transient, I think. And I don't know why I did this, but it's just there. The clap. It's a layer of 2 claps. That one. And that one. And a slightly reverbed clap. And another one. It's a layer of 4 claps. It's been reverbed here. This one. Second layer, I believe. It's been saturated like crazy. Slightly mixed in though. EQ'd. And a reverb. The third layer is just an EQ. Oh yeah, this is like a pre-shifted clap. It's this one. And I kind of like triggered it very early. It's like this one. Look, everything is right here, slightly shifted, these guys, but this one is really like really shifted. Because if I didn't do that, yeah, it's been delayed. It could have been much more easier if I worked in audio. But like, I like MIDI on my drums, so yeah, that's what's up with that. Okay, so these guys are, I think, stock samples. Yeah, it is. This one is, yeah, it's this sample. This is also like an additional layer for the clap. So yeah, that's what's up with the drums. And the crashes, those are all stock samples. This one is being reverbed quite heavily. Parallel reverb actually, because the dry signal and the wet signal, you can't hear it, but yeah, get the point. This is just a patcher. It's the same as this one, but slightly EQ'd. So I was too lazy to actually add another EQ. I just like EQ'd it here. This one is also been reverbed, and it's being panned to the right. This one is just a reverb and EQ. But yeah, also like layered a little bit of pre-sample here. This one is that sample. I kind of like did this, like right before the clap hits. It's that sound. It has no post-processing. It's just the synths. Okay, so the respace is just your generic sound. It's just a saw wave with 6 voices of unison, highly detuned, and a low pass. The only thing that is special I did here was I went to harmonic unison pitch and kind of like bumped this section up so that it's like slightly greasier. So now you can tell that it's very static. So yeah, and it's been distorted, the filter being nothing. It's literally not letting any high frequency through, as you can hear. And compression, post-processing. I think this is an EQ for a softer part because it's being automated here. We'll see about that. It's side EQ, of course. So like attenuate this frequency a little bit on the mid and on the side as well. It's a little extreme, but yeah, pretty compressor to compress the sound. And finally EQ to get rid of the high end. Even though there's like technically none of it anymore. But yeah, this is literally sampled from the original track. This sound This sound is a laser sound. I've actually made a laser tutorial. You can check it up here. This is like the second method I talked about in that video, where you go into Edison and like you do the scrub thing really fast. And this is like a part of the sample that I messed around with. There's no post-processing, and this one is basically the same as like the Reese before. It's just not being low passed. It just has like 4 voices of unison, really pound, really pitched, and really phased as well. A little bit of FM action going on up here, and both of them is going through the filter. First filter, it's been distorted. This is how you route the first filter to the next filter, by the way. But this is how it is by default, this next knob. Just put it to the right, and that means it doesn't need like any out signal. It's going straight to the next filter. That's what I did here. I engaged a little bit of effects, which has like chorus, a little bit of reverb. And that second filter here, go to the next filter again, as you can see here. Next. The third filter, the last filter, which is second filter, I think is doing some high pass. Yeah, it's high pass. Third filter is a low pass. First filter is just distortion and low pass. Distortion and low pass. Yeah, so that's what's up with the sound. It's being OTT'd and it's being EQ'd. Got the lows because the respace is there. The sub-E respace. Together. Post-processing has some additional chorus, wave shaper, with this weird looking shape. Compressor, again, and EQ, and mid-side EQ. Yeah, I did this on the mids, and I did this on the side. But yeah, without the effect. With the effects. Big difference. And this ARP, this is a Harmor preset. It's the piano preset right here. It's one of those, I don't remember. Post-processing has a flanger and a phaser, and I split the signal. So get that and the dry signal. Combination of the two sounds amazing. And we have a delay. For some delay action, reverb, and an EQ. So basically, I recorded the entire drum and did some stuff to the sample, and I also made a video about that actually, so you can check it up here. Essentially, just recording the sample. I just recorded the sample. It's here, and this is like, I tossed it inside Edison and I used the denoise function basically to make it like sound like that. So it's slowly fading in. And the drum is slowly fading out. And this sound again. The respace becomes softer. And that's also what this EQ is for, this one. Because as you can see, it's like it becomes softer. And the piano fill, I basically recorded this piano. I reversed it, and that's how it sounds like. I engaged some declicking so that it doesn't click. And here I did something interesting. I placed these vinyl crackles there, and in the master, as you can see, there's a big controller. This basically takes the peak of the entire song. So I went to the vinyl crackle and kind of buzzed them into one mixer insert. And as you can see, there's a 3D balance here. And I linked this volume knob to the peak of the big controller on the master. So that means whenever the piano plays, the vinyl crackle is going to be slightly louder, and when the piano is quiet, the vinyl crackle gets quiet with it. but I mixed it slightly in, as you can see, like the 3D balance. It gives us that nice texture on things. Very subtle, but it's there. It adds to the character. This sample is that same sample. It's the same stock sample. I just pitched it way the hell down and also randomized it. Wow, I think it's from the same big controller with the random settings. These samples, this sample is this sample. This sample, I think it's the same one. No, it's a different one. And this one is a different one. I arranged these samples so that it sounds like what he did. And the post-processing, it's just a frequency shifter and a reverb. Actually on the same mixer insert, I just realized this patch is just 2 flex presets again. I love using flex to like make my life easier because that's what it is for. This sound, I sampled it from the original track and post-processed it a lot, reverb and 3D balance. This is the same music box preset, yes. This sample is from the Cymatic sample, Utopia sample pack, filled with Porter Robinson type sound. And this is the OG sample. I like played with the pitch and the panning. As you can see, it's also pitched and stretched so that it matches the pitch of the song. In here, that's what this EQ is for on the respace. Because on the build up, it's softer, the drop hits harder. And the moment you've been waiting for, the ARP voice. So I used Harmer, dropped the Utopia FX7 vocal D sample in the image resynthesis tab. What I did here was I kind of like played with the pitch again so that it matches the pitch of the song. That's what I first did. And image format shift. This is basically the format of the sample being LFO'd. It's this one. Right click on it, edit articulator, and it's doing an LFO thing. So I enabled this global thing here because when you're like doing LFO stuff, right, you want things to move. But like if I have it off, it will be like retriggered. It will always start here on each note. But if I have it on, it will keep going no matter how much I press the note. It will keep going. I hope that made sense. And this is, I think, the same sample. Actually, no, it's not. It's another sample. It's the OG sample again, like basically like the same process. I adjusted the pitch, the same image format LFO. With the global on and the tempo on as well. It's very slow though, like it's almost static because we only want that like initial It makes sense when it's static. On the effect, it's just like chorus and compression post-processing without any effect at all. It sounds decent actually. So we have a peak controller with the LFO and peak being enabled. I have yet to know what these things are for. We're gonna find out, I think. Slight EQ, patcher. So this is, again, I splitted the frequency, the high mids and the low. The high mids is being bit crushed and the lows clean. And a phaser. Oh yeah, so this is what this controller is for, like the LFO. Basically linked this to this one and linked that to this one. And I think this is inverted. I think I inverted it, I think, because here it's this line. Yeah, I inverted it. That's cool. Now we have smooth. This is again a Frank Bull preset. It's kind of like Soothe, not as precise by any mean, but it gets the job done. Frank Bull is also. And a reverb, slightly mixed in, delay, EQ. And mid-side EQ, did this on the mids, did this on the side. And I don't know what this peak control is for, but we'll find out. Oh yeah, and I remember the drum goes ham here. You hear the like crash on the left? that's kind of what Porter did. This automation up here is basically this FP hype. I buzzed the entire synth into one mixer insert, and I added this. This is also a Frank Paul preset. So without it, just not interested. Transition is trash. And with it, it's just beautiful. And also these pads, the way I make these kind of pads, I believe it's the piano. So, for example, like basically record the piano or anything. That's the sample. When you press Alt T, stretch it or pitch it down. You basically pitch it down like this and choose the transient method. Then you EQ it like this. That's kind of how you make these like low pitched pads. Yeah, and also I put these guys like a free-X oscillator on the second drop to like support the overall stuff. This is basically just a white noise, and it's being post-processed, of course, because without any effect, just a basic white noise with the effects, much cleaner. So it's being distorted and it's being phased. The phaser preset, I think, and EQ, pretty balanced. I think it's like linked somewhere, and somewhere like, oh yeah, it's basically linked to the ARP speak controller. They're pretty balanced, and it's being slightly mixed in so that it's like it has like character again in the compressor. Yeah, and I think that's it. I think I've covered everything about this FLP. I'm gonna put a link in the description for you guys to download it. Also, I use FL 20.8, so hooray if you have it. I'm sorry if you don't. But yeah, that's everything about this walkthrough, I guess. Thank you for watching. Again, subscribe if you like the thing and like while you're at it. And yeah, I will see you later. Bye bye.